almost 200 people. Because that's now down from 300, their exaggeration. The heavily built men who had undergone training, Marine camp established by the Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorist group in Pakistan, and also used steroids to build a tougher physique. We found injections containing traces of cocaine, LSD left behind by the terrorists, and later found drugs in their blood, one official said. There was also evidence of steroids, which isn't uncommon in terrorists. Yeah, they also, according to Wired magazine, the Pentagon admits this, they give our troops a similar concoction. That after they send the troops in Afghanistan in special battle groups, laboratory groups, tripping, steroids, cocaine, LSD, and then they go in and they just kill everybody. Then they take the troops out, give them halcyon-type amnesics. This is all admitted. So they're testing how to do this. And they're saying that, we'll go pull up the article on Wired magazine. There's several others. It was called the Marshall Plan, because that's the head futurist there. He was like 90 years old when that came out. I don't know if he's still alive. The point is, he said it won't be what weapons we have, it'll be what drugs our troops are on in the future. And he said the U.S. military will drug, that's the plan, all of its combat troops. And then they list the drugs. Go read it right now. This is what they admit they're doing, ladies and gentlemen. And then, of course, remember Delta Force came back? A Delta Force squadron? Why they call ground troop squadrons, I don't know, but they call them squadrons. A squadron came back and killed 4 Delta Force guys in one night, all magically in one night, went and killed their families, but in one case, the guy fought the mind control, and when the police arrived, this was in the North Carolina newspapers, was flopping around violently, basically having a seizure. Folks, these men are the best troops we've got. They don't just break like that, especially 4 in one night, murdering their children. It was some type of test. It was some type of test. 4 men from Delta Force murdering their families in one night. But the one who didn't do it started attacking his wife and children and then ran out the door and began flopping violently and scratching and pulling at his eyes and foaming at the mouth. Because he'd been programmed with the compulsion to kill, so he just started killing himself. I mean, you don't believe me? Just pull the articles up. This is what's going on, ladies and gentlemen. This is what they've done. And that's why you're going to see, quote, white terrorists in America. They take these guys and torture them for months, folks. Mind control them for months. Now, mind control tends to not get a good commando. You don't really get somebody who operates well. They are just the decoys who then get caught at the scene. You understand? And then they're so blown out of their mind that they can't defend themselves and don't remember anything. Because these levels of LSD wipe your mind. You won't remember months of what happened. There was also evidence of steroids, which isn't uncommon in terrorists. These men were all toned, suggested they had been doing some heavy training for the attacks. This explains why they managed to battle the commandos for 50 hours with no food or sleep. What does toned have to do with it? Real commandos are skinny, they're svelte. They're not taking steroids. It's not about being big. It's about being strong and having stamina. Be able to march 50 miles with a pack on your back. It's about marksmanship. It's about being cool. It's about being focused. And then if you've been awake for 3 days, then they start taking stimulants. But then that only works for another 24 hours. Then you start having hallucinations and making mistakes. It goes on and on. Okay. Now I want to go over a few pieces of evidence. What is it? One Day in September is the name of the film. It won an Academy Award. It's narrated by Kirk Douglas. There's so many examples. They're all just popping in my head from memory. And at the end of the film, they admit that they have the former head of German intelligence who was running it at the time, admit that basically the whole hostage thing was staged, and then to release the living hijackers and the living terrorist takers, hostage takers, they staged a hijacking just as the German government did as an excuse to release the Palestinian terrorist. See, all this stuff just comes out. Now, that was in Munich decades ago. Remember what I said earlier about Hermann Göring? What did the Vice Chancellor do in the Reichstag February 27th, 1933, months after being elected? He firebombed the building. That's now been released. The European courts have released it. It was always in the Nuremberg trials and in the documents. People would try to deny it, but now the German government admits, yes, it was staged. That just came out, what, 6 months ago, 7 months ago? And what happened? Well, what we always said happened. They grabbed a mental patient, Marinus van der Lubbe, Dutch, so it was also a language barrier. They stripped him down, they drugged him up, and they firebombed the Reichstag, started it up in Göring's office, grabbed Marinus, kept him drugged up, had a show trial, put it on the newsreels and radio, and then cut his head off. Now remember McVeigh, state police, see him driving erratically, he gets out foaming at the mouth, they said they believe he was on drugs, saying, I got a chip in me, it hurts, get it out. Mind control, folks.
What will you do when the economy collapses, store shelves are